They must have upgraded coach passengers now, Greg sneers, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. His voice carries deliberate and mocking. A few passengers glance up, some with faint smirks, others quickly averting their eyes. Alana stiffens, fingers curling around the armrest. She knows that tone. Entitlement wrapped in condescension. Greg exhales, shaking his head as if baffled. Never thought I'd see the day. He chuckles, taking another sip. Must be some kind of mix-up. Alana doesn't respond. Not yet. Years of experience have taught her that engaging too soon only feeds men like him. But the murmur spreads, soft whispering doubt. A flight attendant passes, hesitating just a second too long before moving on. Greg leans back, satisfied. Guess they're lowering their standards these days. Alana exhales slowly, gaze steady. Not today. The air tightens, conversations falter, replaced by the unspoken. A man in the aisle seat shifts, pretending to check his phone. Across the row, a woman exhales quietly, her gaze flickering between Greg and Alana, before looking away. No one says a word. Alana feels the weight of their silence pressing against her skin. The quiet agreement, the passive approval. Her grip tightens around the boarding pass still tucked in her lap. She's been here before. Different setting, same script. Greg smirks. He notices the silence too, and it emboldens him. Greg clicks his tongue. You know, he says, loud enough for the front row to hear. I'd hate to assume, but... He trails off, shaking his head. This just doesn't seem right. His eyes land on a flight attendant. Samantha, her name tag reads. He lifts a hand, motioning her over like he's ordering another drink. She's in the wrong seat, he says, as if stating an undeniable fact. First class isn't, well, it isn't for everyone. Alana finally turns, eyes meeting his. You mean, it isn't for me? Greg shrugs, feigning innocence. Just saying, mistakes happen. Samantha hesitates, glancing at Alana before forcing a neutral smile. Ma'am, may I see your boarding pass? It's not a request, it's an expectation. Alana lets out a slow breath. She could refuse. She should. But the weight of expectation lingers. An entire cabin, watching, waiting. She slides the ticket from her lap, jaw tightening. Greg leans back, victorious. Samantha takes the ticket, eyes flickering across the details. Alana watches her expression shift. Uncertainty creeping in. A pause too long to be just routine. Greg sighs, exasperated. Well, what's the issue? Samantha doesn't answer immediately. Alana sees it, the conflict behind her eyes, the realization that she's being used. Still, she hesitates. A beat too long. That's all Greg needs. Look, sweetheart, he drawls, addressing Samantha now. We both know how these things go. You can check all you want, but I think we already know the answer. Samantha exhales. Sir, please. I'm just looking out for the airline. Greg interrupts smoothly. You wouldn't want to risk... Alana leans forward. Risk what? Greg's smirk falters, just slightly. Samantha clears her throat. I just need a moment. The pause stretches. Greg tilts his glass, the ice clinking. Any day now, he murmurs. Samantha's fingers tighten around the boarding pass. Alana stays still, composed. But inside, something twists. This isn't just about proving her seat. It's the silent challenge, the unspoken assumption that she doesn't belong. Samantha finally nods. Her ticket is valid. The words land with a hollow weight. A simple confirmation, but it doesn't erase the moment before it, the doubt, the hesitation. Greg chuckles unconcerned. Huh? Guess they'll let just anyone up here now. A few passengers laugh under their breath. Others remain silent. Samantha returns the ticket, avoiding Alana's gaze. Enjoy your flight, Greg smirks. Hope it's comfortable. Alana exhales, pressing the ticket against her lap. She won't let them see it. The sting, the exhaustion. But she feels it, and so does everyone else. Dr. Alana Carter adjusted the strap of her bag. Exhaustion pressing against her shoulders as she stepped onto the plane. A grueling 3-day medical conference had drained every ounce of energy, but her posture remained poised. She moved down the aisle, the quiet hum of passengers filling the cabin. "Excuse me," she murmured, maneuvering past a man who barely shifted. First class, a well-earned comfort after years of relentless work. She reached her seat, exhaling softly. Just a few hours of quiet. No hospital calls. No late-night emergency surgeries. She settled in, unaware that peace was never guaranteed. The flight attendant's voice broke through the cabin noise. "Can I help you find your seat?" Alana glanced up, realizing the question was aimed at her. "No, I'm fine," she said evenly, adjusting her bag. A pause. Just long enough to notice. It wasn't new. Store clerks watching her more closely. Colleagues double-checking her work. Strangers raising an eyebrow when she walked into a high-end lounge. She recalled the charity gala last month. A donor mistaking her for an assistant instead of the lead neurosurgeon. "Oh," the woman had laughed. "I just assumed, wow." Alana met the attendant's gaze. She knew that pause well. She handed over her boarding pass, waiting. The woman scanned it, nodded. "Right this way." No apology, no acknowledgement. Alana followed, jaw set, even in silence. The message was loud. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "You have to be twice as good, Alana. Always." She had been. The sleepless nights, the extra rotations, the constant fight to prove herself in rooms where people underestimated her before she even spoke. In medical school, a professor once glanced at her paper, skimming her perfect answers. "Impressive," he had muttered as if surprised. Her first day as a resident, a patient mistook her for a nurse. "The doctor will be in soon," they had said. She had smiled. She had introduced herself. She had saved their life. Still, the assumptions followed her. She stared at the first-class seat in front of her. It wasn't a luxury. It was earned. And yet, a part of her knew. Some people would always question why she was here. The presence settled back in. Samantha returned the boarding pass, her hesitation barely noticeable, but Alana saw it. "All set," the flight attendant said, her tone light, forced. Alana took the ticket without a word. She could feel Greg's smirk from 2 rows away. She could hear the murmurs that had already faded into the cabin noise. Even when she proved herself, the world still questioned her belonging. She exhaled, pressing her fingers against her temple. The plane hadn't even taken off, and already she was exhausted. "Are you sure this was purchased by you?" Samantha's voice is calm, measured, like she's asking for clarity, not confirmation. But Alana hears the unspoken doubt. A slow inhale, a careful exhale. She stares at the attendant, waiting for the words to make sense. "My name is on the ticket," Alana replies, her voice steady. Samantha shifts slightly. "I just need to confirm." Alana cuts in. "Did you ask the man next to me the same thing?" Greg chuckles from his seat, swilling the ice in his drink. "Come on now, sweetheart. No need to make this a thing." A thing. As if it isn't always a thing. Alana's fingers tighten around the armrest. The weight of every past experience crashes into this moment, but she won't give them the satisfaction of seeing her flinch. She meets Samantha's gaze. "Go ahead, confirm it." Heat rises in Alana's chest, but she locks it down. She's been here before. A clerk checking her ID twice at a luxury boutique. A cab driver assuming she was headed somewhere more affordable. The unspoken rules of spaces like these. She forces a polite smile. "Would you like to see my bank statement too? Maybe a character reference?" Samantha's lips press into a thin line. "That won't be necessary." "No," Alana says coolly. "It never is." She leans back, the fire simmering beneath her composure. Greg mutters something under his breath. She doesn't have to hear it to know exactly what it is. "Victimhood looks good on you." Greg's words drip with amusement, his smirk daring her to react. Alana turns her head slowly, studying him. The satisfaction in his expression, the casual way he leans back, like he's entertained. I'm sure this is a misunderstanding, he continues, waving a dismissive hand. But you people love making everything about race. The words settle between them, thick with provocation. Alana exhales, measuring her response. You people, she repeats, tilting her head. Interesting choice of words. Greg shrugs. I just call it like I see it. For a moment's silence. Then Alana lets out a soft laugh. Not from amusement, but from recognition. This is the game. The smirk, the condescension, the gaslighting. He's daring her to lose control. She won't give him the satisfaction. But oh, how she wants to. Mr. Patel shifts in his seat. His eyes dart to Alana, then to the flight attendant, then back to his lap. The couple across the aisle exchanges glances but says nothing. A woman 2 rows ahead steals a look, then buries herself in her phone. Silence. The great enabler. Alana can feel it, thick, suffocating. It's always there, lingering in the hesitation of those who see, but refuse to act. Samantha clears her throat. I'll check with the captain. And just like that, she turns away. No apology, no acknowledgement. The problem isn't solved, just momentarily abandoned. Samantha disappears down the aisle, her back stiff with discomfort. Alana exhales sharply, pressing her fingers to her temple. Greg leans in slightly. See, now you've made her uncomfortable too. Alana doesn't respond. There's nothing to say. She glances around, scanning the faces of those who pretend not to hear. Someone clears their throat. Another shifts in their seat. Still, no one speaks. Samantha had the power to shut this down, to do the right thing. Instead, she walked away. And now, the weight of this moment lingers, pressing heavier than before. The silence isn't quiet. It thrums in the space between Alana and the watching eyes. A mother pulls her child closer. A businessman pretends to be deeply invested in his laptop. Someone exhales loudly, as if inconvenienced. Alana straightens her shoulders, forces her breathing steady. She's endured worse, but the humiliation sticks. Not because of what was said. She's heard it all before. It's the way no one challenges it. The way complicity hangs in the air, thick and unmoving. Her fingers twitch against her phone. She already knows who she'll text. Alana unlocks her phone, thumbs hovering over the screen. She types, "This is happening again." A beat. Then she hits send. The response is instant. "Where are you?" She swallows, staring at the screen. Exhaustion sits heavy in her chest, deeper than before. She types, then deletes. Rewrites, then hesitates. What is there to say that hasn't been said before? Another message pings in. "Do you want me to call someone?" Alana exhales. She doesn't want help. She just wanted someone to know. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to return to economy. There must have been an error." Mark's tone is firm, mechanical, like he's merely following protocol. Alana tightens her grip on her armrest. "An error?" Samantha shifts awkwardly beside him, eyes flickering between them. Greg exhales, a smug grin creeping onto his face. "Figures." Alana remains still. "I booked the seat. I checked in. I boarded without issue." Mark doesn't budge. "Your seat assignment appears to be incorrect." Her chest tightens. "Appears?" Greg leans back, folding his arms. "You should probably just—" Alana cuts him off, gaze unwavering. "Let me see the manifest." Mark doesn't respond. "Show me the list of assigned seats." A pause. Then a measured sigh. "We need you to comply." Greg chuckles. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, sweetheart." The weight of every injustice she's ever faced settles onto her shoulders. Alana blinks, once, twice. A mistake, a mix-up. That's what they're calling this. Greg's smirk widens, as if he can taste her humiliation. Samantha avoids her gaze. She exhales slowly. "So, you're ignoring my boarding pass? Disregarding my confirmation?" Silence. Mark folds his arms. We're asking you to move. A flicker of heat rushes through her veins. Asking or forcing? Another empty pause. Samantha had the power to shut this down, to do the right thing. Instead, she walked away. And now, the weight of this moment lingers, pressing heavier than before. The silence isn't quiet, it thrums in the space between Alana and the watching eyes. A mother pulls her child closer. A businessman pretends to be deeply invested in his laptop. Someone exhales loudly, as if inconvenienced. Alana straightens her shoulders, forces her breathing steady. She's endured worse. But the humiliation sticks. Not because of what was said. She's heard it all before. It's the way no one challenges it. The way complicity hangs in the air, thick and unmoving. Her fingers twitch against her phone. She already knows who she'll text. Alana unlocks her phone, thumbs hovering over the screen. She types, "This is happening again." A beat, then she hits send. The response is instant. "Where are you?" She swallows, staring at the screen. Exhaustion sits heavy in her chest, deeper than before. She types, then deletes, rewrites, then hesitates. What is there to say that hasn't been said before? Another message pings in. "Do you want me to call someone?" Alana exhales. She doesn't want help. She just wanted someone to know. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to return to economy." There must have been an error. Mark's tone is firm, mechanical, like he's merely following protocol. Alana tightens her grip on her armrest. An error? Samantha shifts awkwardly beside him, eyes flickering between them. Greg exhales, a smug grin creeping onto his face. Figures. Alana remains still. "I booked the seat. I checked in. I boarded without issue." Mark doesn't budge. "Your seat assignment appears to be incorrect." Her chest tightens. "Appears?" Greg leans back, folding his arms. "You should probably just—" Alana cuts him off, gaze unwavering. "Let me see the manifest." Mark doesn't respond. "Show me the list of assigned seats." A pause, then a measured sigh. "We need you to comply." Greg chuckles. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, sweetheart." The weight of every injustice she's ever faced settles onto her shoulders. Alana blinks. Once, twice, a mistake, a mix-up. That's what they're calling this. Greg's smirk widens, as if he can taste her humiliation. Samantha avoids her gaze. She exhales slowly. "So, you're ignoring my boarding pass? Disregarding my confirmation?" Silence. Mark folds his arms. "We're asking you to move." A flicker of heat rushes through her veins. Asking or forcing? Another empty pause. Greg shifts, letting out a dramatic sigh. "Look, lady, if you can't afford first class, just say that." Alana's stomach churns. The truth isn't lost on her. It never was. Greg raises his glass, swirling the liquid before taking a slow sip. "This is uncomfortable." He grins. "For you, I mean." Alana doesn't move. His head tilts, mock sympathy dripping from his voice. "Must be frustrating, huh? Thinking you belong somewhere you don't?" A low chuckle. A slight shake of his head. "You people always pull this card." Alana inhales sharply. The bubbles in his champagne rise, light, unbothered. Unlike her, Greg shifts, letting out a dramatic sigh. "Look, lady, if you can't afford first class, just say that." Alana's stomach churns. The truth isn't lost on her. It never was. Greg raises his glass, swirling the liquid before taking a slow sip. "This is, uncomfortable." He grins. "For you, I mean." Alana doesn't move. His head tilts, mock sympathy dripping from his voice. "Must be frustrating, huh? Thinking you belong somewhere you don't?" A low chuckle, a slight shake of his head. "You people always pull this card." Alana inhales sharply. The bubbles in his champagne rise, light, unbothered. Unlike her. Unlike every moment like this one. Repeating itself in different forms, in different places, in different ways. But always leading back to the same conclusion. She isn't supposed to be here. The hush in the cabin is deafening. Passengers shift uncomfortably. Some stare at their laps, pretending not to hear. Others glance up, then quickly away. A flicker of movement. Someone discreetly lifts a phone. Another hand tightens around an armrest. The silence says everything. They see, they know, but no one speaks. A man near the window clears his throat. A woman 2 rows ahead shifts in her seat. Greg exhales dramatically. You're embarrassing yourself. Alana doesn't flinch, because the real embarrassment isn't hers. It never was. Her voice is steady, but the fire underneath crackles. Would this be happening if I looked like him? A breathless pause. Mark blinks. Samantha's hands tighten at her sides. Greg scoffs. Oh, here we go. Alana doesn't waver. Would you be questioning my seat, my right to be here? No answer. Not from Mark, not from Samantha, not from anyone. Greg snorts. You people love playing the victim. She holds his gaze. And people like you love proving the point. His smirk falters. Just for a second. Long enough. Mark hesitates. A flicker of something, doubt, discomfort, crosses his face. But then it's gone. Ma'am, he says stiffly, please cooperate. Another demand, disguised as a request. Greg sighs. This is getting boring. Mark doesn't look at him. Alana exhales slowly. You're doubling down on a lie. Nothing. Samantha swallows hard. Alana watches Mark, studying the slight tension in his jaw. She's seen this before. The refusal to admit wrong. The preference for silent compliance over messy accountability. A familiar, exhausting cycle. And she's so tired. Her heartbeat pounds in her ears. The realization settles. She has 2 choices. Stand her ground, risk escalation, or move, let them win. Her fingers grip the seatbelt. Greg hums, tapping his glass. What's it gonna be? Mark waits. Alana clenches her jaw. Then, a voice. Excuse me. Everyone turns. A man, middle-aged, sharp suit, lowers his phone. His voice is firm, unimpressed. I'd like to hear why she's being asked to move. A ripple of tension spreads. Mark shifts. Greg stiffens. And for the first time, Alana isn't the only one demanding answers. Before Mark can respond, another voice, sharper, urgent. Wait. A flight attendant rushes forward, breathless. Lena. Her eyes dart between them. There's been a mistake. Greg groans. Oh, come on. Lena ignores him, turning to Mark. Alana Carter, right? Alana nods slowly. Lena exhales. She's exactly where she's supposed to be. A slow, creeping silence. Mark stiffens. Samantha's face pales. Greg's grip tightens around his champagne flute. And Alana, she just sits. Exactly where she belongs. For the first time, they have to accept it. Because now, they have no choice. Dr. Carter is a VIP passenger. She was personally upgraded by the airline CEO. Lena's voice is sharp, unwavering. Silence crashes over the cabin. Alana doesn't blink, doesn't move. Mark's mouth parts slightly. Samantha stiffens. Greg exhales a sharp laugh. No way. Lena ignores him. She extends Alana's boarding pass, holding it up for Mark to see. Confirmed upgrade. Special privileges. Her gaze hardens. You just tried to displace a first-class VIP. Mark swallows. Samantha's hands tremble at her sides. Greg scoffs. This is ridiculous. Lena doesn't flinch. What's ridiculous is how fast you assume she didn't belong. Greg's jaw tightens. Mark shifts, his confidence cracking. Alana finally exhales. Not in relief. Just recognition. Because this isn't new. But this time, they have no escape. And for the first time, they're forced to see it. Mark's posture shifts. Shoulders tightening, throat bobbing. Greg leans back, a slow frown replacing his earlier smirk. Samantha blinks rapidly, fingers clasping together as if searching for an anchor. Alana watches them, not with satisfaction, not with anger, just observation. Greg exhales, forcing a chuckle. Well, that's unexpected. Lena folds her arms. No, it's not. Mark opens his mouth, but no words come. Because there is no excuse, no justification, no way to twist this into anything but what it is. And they all know it. Mark clears his throat, struggling to regain control. There must have been a miscommunication. Lena arches a brow. A miscommunication? His hands fidget. We were just following procedure. No. Her voice cuts through. You were following an assumption. Greg's smirk is gone. Samantha's lips part, but nothing escapes. Alana tilts her head. Tell me, Mark, at what point did you decide my ticket was an error? He hesitates. The answer is obvious, and the weight of it presses against him, suffocating, undeniable. The hush that follows is deafening. Passengers remain frozen, watching as the scene unravels. Greg shifts, his confidence fraying at the edges. Samantha's fingers tighten into her palms. Mark glances around as if searching for an escape. But there is none. They are exposed, stripped of justification. Alana remains composed, unshaken. Greg exhales, tapping his fingers against his knee. Well, I didn't know. The excuse is feeble, empty, and the silence that follows swallows it whole. Alana finally turns to Samantha. Her voice is calm, but it carries weight. Would you have stayed silent if it was someone else? Samantha flinches. I didn't think... No, Alana cuts in. You didn't. A slow, measured breath. But now that you do, tell me, what was it? Her eyes lock onto Samantha's. The way I look, my last name? Samantha swallows hard. Greg shifts uncomfortably. Mark averts his eyes. No one answers. Because the truth is standing right in front of them. And there's no running from it. Mark clears his throat. Dr. Carter, he exhales. I sincerely apologize. Alana remains still. She doesn't nod, doesn't accept it. Because an apology isn't enough. And they all know it. Mark looks away. His words mean nothing against the weight of what just happened. Greg exhales, shifting in his seat. No smug remarks, no condescending sneers. Just silence. Alana doesn't gloat. She doesn't need to. Because in this moment, Greg isn't in control. And that, more than anything, is his real defeat. For once, he has nothing to say. We deeply regret the misunderstanding, Doctor. Carter, we'd like to offer... Alana raises a hand, silencing Mark before he can finish. A voucher? A free flight? Her voice is calm, but the weight behind it is undeniable. Mark hesitates. We just want to make this right. Alana exhales. Right? Her eyes flick between him, Samantha, and Greg. So, if I take your apology, do we pretend this never happened? No one answers, because they all know the truth. A refund won't erase the humiliation. A discount won't change the assumptions that put her in this position to begin with. And she refuses to let them off that easily. She leans forward slightly. Not aggressive, just unyielding. If I weren't a VIP, would I still be in economy right now? Greg shifts. Mark presses his lips together. Samantha glances at the floor. The silence is suffocating. Alana nods slowly. That's what I thought. Lena crosses her arms. You saw her seat, you saw her ticket, and you still called security. Mark fumbles for words. We were just following protocol. Alana tilts her head. Whose protocol? Again, no answer. Because there isn't one. Not one they can admit out loud. Lena exhales sharply. I'm reporting this. Mark's head snaps up. That's unnecessary. Is it? She turns to Alana. You want this on record, don't you? Alana doesn't hesitate. Yes, Greg scoffs. This is getting blown out of proportion. Lena's stare hardens. Funny, that's exactly what people like you say when you're caught. Greg's mouth opens, then closes. Because no excuse will change what happened. No denial will erase what everyone just witnessed. Greg exhales sharply. Look, we misunderstood the situation. Alana's gaze doesn't waver. Number you assumed I didn't belong. His nostrils flare. You're twisting this. I don't need to. The facts speak for themselves. Greg looks away. Samantha swallows hard. Mark clears his throat. Dr. Carter, please. Alana doesn't let him finish. You can dress it up however you like, but I know what this was. Discomfort flickers across their faces, because deep down, so do they. A new voice breaks through. She's right. All eyes shift to Mr. Patel, an older man who's remained silent until now. I watched it happen. His voice is firm, unwavering, and I've seen it before. Greg leans back. Oh, come on. But Mr. Patel isn't deterred. You thought no one would call it out, but times are changing. A murmur ripples through the cabin, because what was once silence is now shifting. And it's no longer in Greg's favor. A notification dings, then another. A passenger lowers their phone, screen glowing. This is already online. Greg pales. Mark's jaw clenches. Alana doesn't move, because she doesn't have to. The truth is out. And this time, it won't be ignored. The noise fades. No voices, no justifications. Only silence. Because sometimes, silence says more than words ever could. The weight of the moment lingers. The tension, the injustice, the undeniable truth, hanging heavy in the air. For Alana, this is nothing new. For Greg, it's a lesson he didn't expect. For those watching, it's a reality that can't be ignored. The moment lingers, because it should, because pretending it never happened is how this cycle continues. And this time, there's no looking away. Imagine yourself in Alana's seat. Would you have spoken up? Stayed silent? Would you have noticed at all? Bias isn't always loud. Sometimes, it whispers in policies, lingers in glances, hides behind mistakes. Now ask yourself, how many times has something like this happened without anyone watching? And when it does, what will you do? The truth is uncomfortable, but change starts with discomfort. So, what would you have done? Really think about it. Have you ever experienced discrimination while traveling? Have you witnessed someone being treated unfairly? Your story matters. Speak up in the comments. Share your experience. Let's make sure voices like Alana's are heard, because for too long, they haven't been. Change doesn't happen in silence. It happens when people refuse to look the other way. Your voice can be the one that makes a difference. If this story made you think, share it. If it made you feel something, engage. If you believe change is necessary, be part of it. Like, comment, subscribe, because awareness isn't enough. Action is what creates impact. And this conversation, it's just getting started.